Yes, people. It's Jacob on the one up top. Yeah. Hope you're all well. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. Sorry for not posting for the last week or so. I've had a mad few weeks. I've had a week. I had a migraine for about 4 days. I had a lot of pressure on at work and stuff, which I had to prioritise. I was ill as well. I had a cold for about 3 days. So, I had a lot of people messaging me saying, why you're not posting anymore? I had my barber, shout out Johnny, saying to me, you got to keep it up. And I knew I had to anyway, but he gave me a bit of motivation. So anyway, before I get into it, I'd like you to make sure that you're liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, all of that. As I said in one of my previous videos, I'm on about 172 subscribers. So I'm trying to get to 200. Keep hitting them milestones because I want to get myself out there as much as possible. Now I'm back in full health and there's a little bit less pressure in my life. I want to be pushing from not just for stuff on Tottenham. There's going to be a lot of things coming through because I want to prep for next season where I just don't want to talk about Tottenham. I want to talk about football in general. So look out for me and keep following. And if you are following already, make sure that you hit the notification bell. But yeah, I'm going to go into what I predominantly talk about, which is my beautiful club, Tottenham Hotspur. It's been 8 days or 10 days or something since I've last spoke to you guys. But, where do I start? I'm not going to go too much into the press conference. It is what it is. For me, I put myself in Conte's shoes and what he said was bang on, but what it is, you've got to know your position. The club's paying you $250,000 a week. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, no matter where you are, whether you're a manager, a call centre agent, a football manager, insurance broker, whatever it is, whoever's paying you your money, don't bite their hand. And if you're going to bite their hand, be prepared to be slapped with that same hand. And that's what happened. So, right, when you weigh everything up, should have been sacked. What pissed me off about it was that the whole time I was ill and had a migraine, it made my head worse because I'm like, well, how's he not been sacked? It took Tottenham ages to get rid of him. Absolutely ages. It's like I said again, you got to put yourself, I know there's a lot of, ins and outs of football, paperwork to be signed and all that, but I never see any other club doing it as badly as Tottenham, Man United, all these clubs. If there's a manager to be sacked and if Conte was at Man United, if Conte was at Chelsea, you see Chelsea, they're like, right, cool, boom. Under Abramovich, what'd you say? Sacked. People were getting sacked within a second at Chelsea. So Conte did that at Chelsea. See you later, man. You dumb. At Tottenham, it's like what we were waiting for. But, eventually they got the job done. He got sacked the other day. And to be honest, the day before it happened, I was seeing things on Twitter. It was, in Twitter is always the place to go to for us. Predominant source of truth. I know you get a lot of idiots that are in the know. They're the people that seem to think that they know everything. And then as soon as their facts become a load of bollocks, they just delete it. I'm watching you guys. But yeah, so when you saw a few things, going around on social media, I kind of went to bed thinking, you know what, mate, I think he's going to be sacked because there was a few reliable sources. David Ornstein was coming out saying that it's bound to happen. So I thought, let me go sleep and wake up in the morning and see what happens. So I've gone to enter La La Land and I'm thinking, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Pochettino? Is it going to be Nagelsmann? Free agents? I wonder. I had a few people even messaging me saying the same thing while I was asleep, So I woke up in the morning, it's all confirmed, Conte's gone, and these are from people saying, WhatsApping me saying, what do you think of Conte's departure? So I'm looking at that thinking, great, who's coming in? I don't know what stressed me out more. The fact that we took ages to sack Conte or the fact that we've brought somebody in that ain't what I wanted. Like, it's just, for me, I'll go as far as saying this, yeah? I would rather Conte had stayed in the job. I'd rather see what he was going to do with Tottenham, even though he's pissed everyone off, than bring in Stellini and Ryan Mason. Because we all know, as a football club, it doesn't matter who you support, Tottenham, Man City, Chelsea, Fulham. When you bring another manager in, you always get that manager bounce, don't you? More often than not, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, with two managers that I'm going to be our top targets and they're both free agents, you're going to bring a bounce in. They're going to be attacking. They're going to be back four. Everything that what Spurs fans want. You bring in two managers that have already had their opportunity to have bounces with the same players. So Mourinho was sacked. Who did we bring in? Mason to bring the bounce. We bounced our way out of a final. We now bring in Stellini. We bounced ourselves out of that same cup, the FA Cup. So it's like, he's had these little, Stellini had his little spell, to be fair, and we all thought that Stellini was this great coach. Do you know what I mean? I was one that was baffled by it because that's how bad it was. But then we've brought them in again. How are we going to get the bounce? So I've gone as far as thinking, I don't even think Daniel Levy cares about top four anymore. Because if you cared about top four, you'd go and get Nagelsmann or Pochettino. Because not only would it be a bounce, they're managers that will get there. Do you get what I'm saying? They'll do something with these group of players somehow. It's a new manager bounce, new ideas, front forward football. But no, you go and bring in two people that have tried to get a bounce, and Ryan Mason had a bounce, didn't even have a bounce. Stellini had one for about 3 games, and then we realised, okay, all of a sudden people start making assumptions that, maybe he was on the phone. It's like, what are we doing? My analogy is this, yeah? Imagine you run a business. You run any type of business, yeah? And you employ Del Boy. So Del Boy is your manager. It feels like we've brought Del Boy in. He didn't work. He didn't become a millionaire. So what do? We got rid of Del Boy and brought in Rodney and Denzel. That's what it feels like. What's the point of, shout out Only Fools and Horses. If you watched Only Fools and Horses and there was a job that needs to be done, you'll know that Del Boy was at the front foot. He'd bring in a Rodney. He'd bring in a Denzel, a Trigger. Do you know what I mean? He was the guy with the ideas. He was the main man. Now, if you take Del Boy out of any of those situations in Only Fools and Horses, yeah, who do you trust that's going to take it forward? Because they all need Del Boy to go, come here, come here. This is what Conte's like with his staff. But then we've just gone to, if Conte's Del Boy, we've now got Rodney and Denzel. But you expect Rodney and Denzel to do a better job than Del Boy. We're going to end up finishing the Conference League. And then you're going to, by then, Nagelsmann's been snapped up. You know what I mean? I'm hearing today that we're in contact. Why didn't you get in contact with him last week when he just got sacked? Bring him in, man. But again, it's Tottenham. Because one, whoever we bring in isn't going to be back. So I've gone as far as saying that, honestly, in the long term, I don't really care who comes in because the owners ain't going to change. We've got Nagelsmann, who is an astute coach. He did really well at Hoffenheim. Nobody really heard of Hoffenheim until he started taking them into European football. Then he got hired by Leipzig, did the same thing with them. And then he's obviously gone to Bayern Munich. The fact of the matter is, Nagelsmann, even though he's the favourite, he prioritised pleasure over business. You know what I mean? His partner now is a journo. So the players didn't trust him, and that's what's caused the problem. So as soon as he dropped second into the league and all that stuff, Bayern Munich have used that as a way to say this is what we sacked him for. But when you do your reading, it's the case of you're going out with a journo. The football, the team don't feel confident speaking to you about stuff in the dressing room, because you all know, whoever you are, man or woman, when you had a hard day at work and someone's pissed you off at work, you come home to your partner, don't you? You come home and say, oh, you know what? He was pissing me off. That was pissing me off. Nagelsmann's coming home telling the journo that, who writes for a German newspaper. So obviously, if he gets the sack or things are going bad, everything's coming out. Because by then, she might have broke up with him. And then she's like, yeah, don't worry about him. I'm just going to tell him what Leroy Sané said, what Gnabry said, what Mane said. And it's all nuts. So for me, again, I like to use analogies. It's like, there's no way I would be in the job that I'm in now because I love it, get with a woman and then allow her to go and join my rival company, because it'll get to the point where when my manager finds out that my future wife has joined our rivals, he's going to be paranoid, because every time we're sitting down, I'm the operations manager now, and I'm sitting there going boom, 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 boom. This is what we need to do going forward to beat our rivals, but then my rival's in my bed. He ain't going to trust me. It gets to the point where it causes friction, and then it gets to the point you're not going to become a good business. So it's the same way. But, if he was to come to Tottenham, he could probably work for the Daily Mail, he could work for the Sun, he worked for a lot of them, babes. Don't worry about it, man. We're fine. Because we can do go-karting here. That's our priority. Top four, for me, I think it's gone as far as top four was the priority to bring in the money. But now that we've turned the stadium into a circus, I don't think Daniel Levy even cares about the football anymore. Because there's no way you can think that Ryan Mason and Stellini, between the two of them, are going to get us top four when the guy that was teaching them everything couldn't. It don't make sense. You know what I mean? So enough on that thing. What I want to do before I come off is compare the two favourites, because there's a lot of energy that's being used on these managers, a lot of comparisons and all that. And I just want to give some Tottenham fans, give your head the waddle a little bit, because you're not making sense to me, right? So when Pochettino's been rumoured about coming back, right? Everybody, everyone's got their opinion. For me, I'm happy to take Poch back, right? But then a lot of them are saying, "Oh, what did Poch win under Daniel Levy?" And he's like, "All right, my answer to that is, what has anybody won? Nothing." So it weren't Poch's fault that he didn't win anything. Granted, he got to finals and stuff like that, but in the grand scheme of things, we overachieved to get there. Champions League final, Liverpool were probably the best side in the country, and they just finished second to Man City. They deserved to win that league, really. So we weren't going to win that. I think we got to a few semi-finals against Chelsea's that were already made teams. When we played, we didn't really bottle it to smaller sides under Poch. Under Poch, we weren't really, I remember we struggled against Sheffield United once, but we got through. When we was at White Hart Lane especially, we were beating teams that we shouldn't. We were when we moved to Wembley, we beat Real Madrid, Dortmund, all these teams, right? So one thing I want you guys to think about is, if you don't want Poch in because he doesn't win anything, and, a lot of people say that Pochettino, the only thing he's won is he won the Liga with PSG, but the previous season he lost it to Lille. So everyone's saying, like, even when you're with PSG, you didn't lose it. Let me give you a little think about something, right? So Nagelsmann, when he was at Hoffenheim and Leipzig, these are teams that you'd compare to Spurs, teams that have got history, not really winning anything. So he got them on the map, Hoffenheim and Leipzig respectively, getting them Champions League football, just the same way Poch did, right? He's gone to Bayern Munich in his first season. He's won the league, hasn't he? Just like Poch did in his second one. But now he's just been sacked because he's second to Dortmund. So, if you're somebody that says, "Oh, Nagelsmann's 10 times better than Pochettino," tell me what the difference is. The only difference for me between the two of them, I think they're just as good as each other. The difference is Pochettino knows what to expect from Daniel Levy, and he wants the job. So if he knows what Daniel Levy's about and he still wants to go back, I'd rather take him, because he's not gonna be a risk. He will know that he's got to go for some youngsters. He'll know that he knows Harry Kane, he knows Son. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say he's going to win anything, but I don't think any of them will. So I'd rather have someone that's going to secure good football. He's going to know what's going on. So, he doesn't have to come in and think, he doesn't need to bed in. He's not going to get homesick because he's lived in London. Everything's going to be familiar to Pochettino. And he wants to do it. He wants to prove to Spurs fans, Daniel Levy, everybody, that he's got unfinished business. Whereas Nagelsmann, he might be like Conte and Mourinho. Conte and Mourinho genuinely thought by coming in with the status that they've got of being world-class managers and all the stuff they've won, Daniel Levy was going to change his mind. Daniel Levy ain't changing he won't change his mind for his mum. Do you know what I mean? Like that geezer, look at his initials. His initials are D. Levy. Do you know what an anagram is of? Devil. He don't care about you. Do you think Satan cares about you? No. He only cares about you being stressed. He don't care. As long as he gets money, he don't care if I'm stressed, you're stressed, Harry's stressed, Deli's stressed. Don't care. When he's looking at that paperwork and he sees that he's made a lot of money, he don't care about nobody. And the reason, the way I look at it is this. I've worked for a company, I'm not going to say their name, but the staff turnover at this place, even though I'd only worked there for about 3 months, the staff turnover was ridiculous. Like, I worked there for about 3 months before I left here. And I must have seen, I don't know how many people, I was like, yeah, he's all right. And then the next week, he was gone. I must have seen about, I don't know how many engineers and staff leave this place. And I was like, whoa, and then 3 months later, I'm gone. But when you look at the figures and the revenue that this company was bringing in, they were going from strength to strength, even though these people were leaving. So I looked at that and thought, reminds me of an establishment, Tottenham. Because Tottenham, Daniel Levy, Joe Lewis, all these guys, their money's going piling up. They're sitting on bags. Yeah. Now, I know it's horrible, but you kind of got to look at them and think, well, if they're all about the bags, they don't care. As long as you stay in the Premier League, as long as I can paper over the cracks and pull the wool over people's eyes, I don't care. Am I making peas? Yes. So this is what they're all about. You know, we all know Pochettino Nagelsmann comes in. Generally, Tottenham fans will be like, oh, this is the time where we challenge for the league. No, we won't. We'll bring in Poch. We'll bring in Nagelsmann. You could bring them in together. You still won't win anything. You know, for me, I've just got to the point where I just think we're not going to win anything. And I've got to the point where even though I've known that for a long time, part of my brain used to be like, you never know, Tottenham might surprise you. No chance. They're not going to surprise nobody. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's no plan around it. There's no thought process around it. Everything happens by accident. There was no way that Daniel Levy, Pochettino, they all sat down and thought, yeah, we're going to get to a Champions League final this season. I don't even think he was in the plans to get top 4 regularly. Pochettino might have thought that. He might have thought, yeah, you know, he's an ambitious guy. He would have thought, yeah, you know, that's the reason why he was saying, I don't take the League Cup and the FA Cup seriously. Don't bother me. I want to do the big things. So he would have thought that. But do you honestly think that if Daniel Levy wanted to win a Champions League and win a Premier League and get into the top 4 regularly, he would go and get somebody from Southampton? No disrespect to the club, because Southampton have got a lot of good players. They, you know, up until recently, they've been a very well-rounded club. But do you think they would have got Poch? Because, you know, in them times, I remember, you know, Mourinho was floating around being available. There was a few good coaches. Conte had just joined Chelsea. You go and get them. At the time, they had guaranteed you success without fail. But you brought in somebody just to, you know, just see what happens. And you got lucky. So for me, it's like Tottenham fans in general who are saying Nagelsmann will come in because of this, Pochettino because of that, De Zerbi because of this, Tuchel because of that. It don't matter. If you ain't got a plan and the club hasn't got a plan, how you can't base a manager off a club that has no plan. There's no plan. It's one of the ones like if you run a business, you know, you've got a call center or something, and your plan is to go from here to here. If you've got a plan, then you know what kind of staff you need to recruit. You know how much money you're going to need, how much investment, how much funding, you know, what skill sets. You'd know that based off a plan. But if you ain't got a plan, you're just going to bring in bodies. You're just going to have bums on chairs picking up the phones. And that's the reason why you have the massive turnover. So that's what happens at Tottenham. You know, Pochettino wanted Dybala. Now you've got Lamella. What Lamella, to me, a bum on seat. So, you know, Lamella done a job. From time to time, he'd put in a performance. He'd put in a Rabona. He's just a bum on seat. Why? Because there was no plan. Now, if the plan was to win things and to up the levels of the team, you go and get Dybala, because then Lamella's looking at him thinking he's better than me. So I'm going to have to work twice as hard to get anywhere near that guy. But then at the same time, when that guy comes in, we've got more chance of winning. It's not rocket science, but because there's the only plan from the board at the very top is the moolah, baby, the kaching, the wonga. That's all they want. So it doesn't matter. So Tottenham fans, I'm telling you, listen to me when I say, yeah, there's no point right now of thinking that any manager is going to take us anywhere, because these managers are all getting thrown under the bus by ownership. You know, the managers that we've had in the past do need to take ownership. You know, it's a bit of acknowledgement, because, you know, Conte throwing everyone under the bus like you don't play dinosaur football. Mourinho, the same. Nuno, for me, I felt sorry for him, but why'd you take the job in the first place? Because you got offered an 18-month deal after about, 7 managers got interviewed, and they were just like, well, do you want it? Do you get what I'm saying? These managers have got to take accountability, but generally you're not going to get helped. You know, everybody in world football knows what it's about for Tottenham. So if you're a manager and you go to Tottenham and expect things to change, they ain't. So for me as a Spurs fan, I want somebody that thinks like me. They know that Tottenham ain't going to change. Daniel Levy's going to give you a set budget, and from time to time, he's going to give you a player that you might not want. But you might have to get that player and make them a little bit better so Daniel Levy gets more money. And the only person in world football that generally not just knows it, but understands it is Pochettino. That's the reason why I want him. It's, you know, a lot of people, when I say it, they think it's all this romance and this nostalgia. No, it's nothing to do with that, man. Like, you know, I don't really like managers coming back twice. However, this is Tottenham. I think we need these managers to come back twice because every other manager is a risk. Pochettino ain't a risk. Because, you know, everyone's talking about, oh, Pochettino didn't win anything. No one's going to win anything. We're Tottenham. And, you know, it gets to the point where even if you brought in a Pep or, a Klopp, Ten Hag, all these guys, yeah, every other club is sorting themselves out. So we've had the opportunity. We brought Conte in where Man United were, you know, they had these Ralph Rangnicks and all this stuff. Klopp's now going through a transition. Arsenal, you know, they were finishing 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Tottenham had the opportunity to grab that by the scruff of the neck. You know, Leicester managed to do it, but Tottenham couldn't. So this is the reason why, even if we get a world-class manager, Arsenal look like they're going to win the league. And if they don't, they're going to be ready-made to challenge again next season. Man City are always going to challenge. Liverpool are going to come back again. Man United, Ten Hag's going to have a clear-up. Mark my words, Man United will definitely be in a title race next season. Chelsea have not spent 600 million to finish 10th again. Newcastle have got the Arab money and they look like they might even get Champions League football. Where does that leave us? Do you know what I mean? So everyone has this deluded vision that Daniel Levy, I don't know how many times Daniel Levy has sacked a manager or a manager's left and they're like, this is the time where Daniel Levy is feeling the pressure. Daniel Levy ain't feeling no pressure. The only pressure he'll feel is if nobody turned up to the games. But if you've paid for the tickets, he ain't going to be bothered. I can guarantee you, if 60,000 Spurs fans paid for tickets, yeah, and none of them turned up, I don't even think he'd be that bothered. I think he'd be bothered if it happened regularly, but Tottenham fans would only do that once. But it won't be all of you, because if there's 60,000 people that don't turn up and don't get paid, there's 60,000 South Koreans that would turn up. There's 60,000 Tottenham fans that have never been to a game before that will go because it's available. You know, whether it's a game or a season ticket, there's so many fans that I know, that you know, that will fill them seats. You know, I know a lot of people that go there regularly and it's getting to the point where they're not going, but they've already paid for the season ticket. There's people that go and pay, you know, and wait for general sale and they're not paying. Someone else is buying them though, because we're still selling out that stadium. So for me, it's like, you're entitled to do what you want as a Spurs fan, but for Daniel Levy to wake up and smell the roses, literally, you got to stop buying the merchandise, you got to stop turning up, and you got to stop buying memberships and stuff. But if you've got a room full of top 10 Tottenham fans, there'll only be one person that's prepared to do that. The other, you know, there'll be 3, 4 that they go because it's an opportunity to get away from the wife and kids, and the other 5 are just die hard, and they'll go regardless of Daniel Levy being there, Harry Kane there, don't matter. And I respect it. You can do it. But for me, I can't remember the last time I bought a Spurs shirt. Can't remember the last time I went to a game, and that's me being honest with myself, because I'm not giving. My money don't mean nothing, but I'm not giving you money. You must be crazy. I'll give money for it's worth it. I'd rather spend, let's say I used to go to because I live in the Midlands now, I used to go to a fair few games. So let's say I went to 5 games and the tickets cost me 50, 60 quid. So that's 300 quid. Another 300 quid on the beers, the food, travel and all that. So let's just say 700 quid. I'd go as far as saying I'd rather get that 700 quid and go down the bookies or something. I don't really bet that much anymore. I'd rather try my luck with £700 in the bookies, and if I throw it away, at least I had fun doing it. Because I'm not going to have fun throwing £700 at Tottenham. Because I might have gone to 6 games that were all great, but what happened? Oh, we finished top 4. In the last 4 years, The last manager that we've had that's stood firm throughout all the bollocks is Pochettino. Since then, we haven't had a manager stay for, what is it, like 13 months? So why don't we bring somebody that can bring longevity? Because Tottenham are a ship that needs steadying. And I don't think a Nagelsmann comes in and changes it, because I think he's just as good as Pochettino. The difference is he doesn't know what he's walking into. So, yeah, that wraps it up, really. We look forward to the next game against Everton. I'll probably do a little video on that just to see my views. I'll be honest with you, if we had a different manager that I've never seen before or hasn't been there for a while in Pochettino and Nagelsmann, I'd have been a little bit more excited, but there's no excitement from my side. Tottenham will continue to be a shambles. I don't have any faith that anything's going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that the next time I even think about going to the stadium, there'll probably be another attraction. I think that's the only thing that's going to change. These guys are lining their pockets. We as Spurs fans are not only giving them that money, we're settling for mediocrity. I respect all the people that do the protests. Ain't going to change anything, no. It's just not going to change. So for me, as I've said on a few videos before, just accept what we've got. We've got owners that only care about the money. We've got about 15 players that are on loan that are going to come back, which our new manager's probably going to have to use. If not, they'll go out on loan again, which will reduce the budget of wages and reduce the transfer fees. Harry Kane, if he doesn't leave this year, will probably leave next season unless a miracle happens and the next manager takes us from strength to strength. Yeah, and we'll always be Tottenham. Like I say to my son, he's only 6, but I've already prepared him, mate. I've already said, like, don't be expecting to be going to school when I'm telling you about Tottenham have won a cup, mate. Just sit down and understand. We're going to win games, we're going to lose games, but we're not going to win trophies under this stewardship. And I feel sorry for every manager that comes in and operates it. You know, I've decided that my priority, which it used to be, which is sad, you know, everybody that knows me is like my whole weekend would revolve around Tottenham. So if Tottenham were kicking off on a Sunday at 4 o'clock, you know, in the good days, I'd be with my ex-partner. I'd make sure that the house was cleaned, food was cooked, anything that she could do to disturb me, including if the kids need to have a bath, fine. I'll do all of that to make sure at 3:30, I've got a bag of nuts, 3 beers, Tottenham versus West Ham. But recently, it's got to the stage where I've had to be reminded that the game's about to start. That's how bad it is. You know, I fell asleep against AC Milan. I fell asleep. I turned off the game when we played Brighton last season. I've never turned off games for TV for Tottenham. Madness. So I'm in that shell where if Tottenham win the game, whoopee-doo. If we lose, whoopee-doo. And if we bring a new manager in, whoopee-doo. It ain't going to change nothing. You know, the only time I will celebrate like I should do is when I see that bald round head disappear into the Bahamas and never return because he sold the club on to someone that actually cares. So, yep, that's me signing out. Look out for a video that's going to come out probably Thursday. So I'll be previewing the weekend, you know, having my view on the lineups. You know, if there's probably any more news that comes up on Tottenham, you'll see that. And yeah, like I keep saying, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of that, share it out, and keep posted. And hopefully, if I'm of good health, I'll keep up the regularity of these videos. Jacob signing out, the one up top.